Really?
Hi everybody, today's topic is teens. And if you're rolling your eyes right now when I say that, that's because you have one. You know that's what they always do. They tend to roll their eyes a lot at you. I had a friend come to me and ask me, she said, you know what, I'm dealing with this teenage daughter and I just can't make her do what I'm telling her to do. And what do I do? We've been through a lot in this house. We've been through, drug addiction, a rape, which ended in a pregnancy, and so dealing with infancy while they were here, partying, school suspensions. The list could go on, and I don't really want to bore you with all of it. It's a little bit why I actually do all of these videos and articles and have written the book, is because I really like to share my experiences with you and show you what I've learned. I'm not saying it's my way is the only way, but it is, some things I learned through all of that hopefully can help other people. And my advice to this woman was, don't frustrate yourself because you probably aren't going to be able to get her to obey all the rules. And she kind of looked at me a little stunned and wasn't sure where to go with that. So I'm going to clarify that for all of you today as well. We as parents, all we can do is put down rules and put down consequences. We can't guarantee our children are going to follow them. It's just the way it is. Human nature in some people will just make them buck. And or if they're not doing it just because they have that tenacity in them and they just want to buck, they might just be doing it because they don't agree with you and the consequence you gave isn't severe enough and they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. When my daughter was doing a lot of things and, sneaking out of the house and going to parties and doing drugs and, being with boys that she shouldn't have been with, going to parties that we weren't even aware that, that she was at, all of these things that teenage kids tend to do, or at least try. We put down consequences. When those consequences didn't work, we tried other consequences. When those consequences didn't work, we tried more consequences. We exhausted ourselves trying to come up with consequences that would work. When it finally dawned on me, nothing's going to work because she's just determined she's going to do this and nothing I do is going to stop her. However, that doesn't mean that I believe that you give up, because I don't believe you ever do give up. If you're strong and you believe what they're doing is harmful to them and they're going to hurt themselves, you have to keep putting the rules down and you have to keep following the consequences. So my daughter knew every time we caught that she had snuck out or went to a party that she wasn't allowed to, or was doing any of these things that we knew were going to be harmful to her, she had a consequence. We eventually picked a consequence for each action she did. And if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And if she did it, we carried through with the consequence. And then she would maybe do it again the next weekend. We'd carry through with the consequence again. I got to the point where I realized I had to stop beating my head up against a brick wall and that it wasn't necessarily my fault that I couldn't make her obey, that I couldn't make her follow all of the house rules. To her, there was no consequence too big that we found that would stop her from doing any of these things. And some of you will be sitting there in judgment of me and going, well, you just didn't give the right consequences. And that might be true. I'm not saying that I am a God by any means and thought of every possible consequence out there. I'm just saying we exhausted everything I could think of, went and got counseling, went and talked to other parents, read magazines, read articles, you name it. We did it to try to come up with a way, and it just came down to the point where we couldn't. I have other children that we could lay a consequence down, and they quickly understood they didn't want the consequence, and they stopped the bad behavior or their action. This one particular daughter, it seemed like the more consequences we gave her, the harder she was going to prove nothing was going to stop her. Long term, that has done her well because it's given her a huge backbone and tenacity, and nothing scares that girl. And she's going to conquer the world. But while raising her, she drove me crazy. But she did make me realize a lot, and that is that you cannot force anybody to do something they don't want to do if they decide they don't want to, bad enough. But you do have the right as a parent to have rules and regulations and consequences. And I encourage you to do that. Just don't frustrate yourself to death or think that you are a bad parent because you weren't able to make a child do what you knew was best for them. It's not always going to happen, but it is your job to keep trying. So we would love your comments and suggestions below. If you have a teenage right now and you're just about ready to pull your hair out, trust me, we've all been there. And please, ask questions. Let's answer each other's questions. I'm not going to be the only one that answers because I don't have all the answers. You guys might have some great suggestions out there. As always, we would love you to share the videos if you're liking any of them. And as always, we want to wish you an awesome day.